welcome back to this Tuesday edition Focal Point. AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840, the number to call. We're going to go to the phones here in just a second. Let me play, first of all, before we do that, a soundbite from John Kerry, who's the Secretary of State. And John Kerry was over somewhere in Switzerland or some posh place like that. By the way, on his trip to this conference on climate change, he went from Washington to Seoul, Korea, to Beijing, to Jakarta, to Abu Dhabi, and then back to Washington, all to talk about the hazards of global warming and the threat of global warming. In the process of doing this, he generated 12 tons of CO2, 12.16 metric tons of carbon dioxide. And remember, to people on the left, carbon dioxide is the culprit. It's not. Carbon dioxide, ladies and gentlemen, is plant food. They are demonizing plant food. They are blaming the destruction of the environment on plant food. That's what CO2 is. It is plant food. It is not a toxin. It is not a pollutant. It is plant food. But they're blaming global warming on CO2, and here John Kerry is out there generating 12.16 tons of CO2 on one trip, and the average American generates 19 tons of carbon dioxide in 1 year. So in 1 week, John Kerry, all by himself, trying to warn the world about the hazards of CO2, pumped 2/3 the carbon output of the average American in 1 year in just 1 week. So anyway, here is John Kerry talking about all the things that represent a threat to civilization as we know it.
Think about this. Terrorism, epidemics, poverty, the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, all challenges that know no borders. The reality is that climate change ranks right up there with every single one of them.
All right, so climate change, that's their new term for global warming. And the reason they've gone to climate change, there has been no global warming since 1995 or 1997 at the very latest. We've gone 17 years. No child in the world has ever experienced global warming. So they can't raise the threat of global warming anymore, so they changed the terminology. And talk about global warming, here's an update from the Great Lakes. 96%. Well, now, let me start over. The Great Lakes are nearly 90% frozen. The Great Lakes, 90% frozen. So frozen that a plane this week was able to make an emergency landing on the Great Lakes. That's how frozen it is. On Monday, a single-engine plane, Quint, that was yesterday, carrying 6 passengers and 1 pilot. It landed safely in the morning on Lake Huron. No one was injured. The plane was not damaged in the landing. A passenger said the ice was softer than on the runway. So that is a catastrophic global warming, Great Lakes update. And, you know, you would think, and after this we'll go to the phones, 888-589-8840. You would think if global warming represents a threat as serious as weapons of mass destruction, that President Obama, he's saying it, he's out there, John Kerry, so you'd think they would actually believe their stuff. John Kerry wouldn't belch 2/3, 12 metric tons of CO2 into the atmosphere if he really believed that it was as serious as a weapon of mass destruction. So they clearly don't even believe their own swill. President Obama went out to Fresno, California, which is where I grew up, by the way. I went to high school in Fresno, California. My folks lived there till they died. So he goes out there because they're having this serious drought out there in California, Central California, big drought. And he goes out there and all he could talk about when he gets to Fresno, California, we don't have enough water, so we have to make shared sacrifices. This is the state's worst water shortage in decades, so we all have to chip in. We've all got to make sacrifices. Then he flies from Fresno, California to the Palm Desert to play on golf courses that require 1 million gallons of water every single solitary day. And he did this 3 days in a row in the Coachella Valley. On Saturday, he played at the Sunnylands Estate, built by the late billionaire Walter Annenberg, which features a 9-hole course. It's played like 18. Following day, he golfed at billionaire Oracle founder Larry Ellison's 19-hole Porcupine Creek On President's Day, Obama hit the links at Sunnylands once again. The 124 golf courses in the Coachella Valley consume roughly 17% of all the water in the Coachella Valley, and 1/4 of the water pumped out of the region's at-risk groundwater aquifer, according to the Coachella Valley Water District. Each of the 124 Coachella Valley courses, on average, uses nearly 1 million gallons a day because of the hot and dry climate, 3 to 4 times more water per day than the average American golf course. So don't let them lie to you. They don't actually believe that global warming is as much of a danger as WMDs. They're just using it as a veneer to go for a power grab. It's just all about finding kind of useful little pets that they can trot out, make you sympathetic to their cause so they can get more power for the federal government. That's what that's all about. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's grab a call from Teresa, Daphne or Daphne, Alabama. Teresa, welcome. What's on your mind?
Thank you for taking my call. I want to tell you first I love you and I appreciate your show. And I wanted to talk about Common Core in Alabama.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been involved in trying to get this repealed in our legislature and with our Board of Education for quite a while now. I get real upset over it, and it's hard to get even parents and grandparents involved because they seem like they just don't want to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
But what the letters that I get back now from our Board of Education is that the federal government is not involved in this. It is state only, and that we have not accepted any money from it, which I know is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, our Republican governor signed a bill that makes it where now the Board of Education will be appointed instead of elected, so that we can't vote them out for implementing this monstrosity on our children.
Well, and that's in Alabama, which is generally, I mean, it's a red state, and it's generally more conservative than a lot of states. So what you're saying is they're making moves there at the state government level to remove what little influence parents have right now over who's making education decisions for their kids.
Exactly. That's exactly what they're doing. I feel so defeated, because, and I was glad to hear, now I'm not crazy about New York and their politics, but I'm proud of them for standing up because our teachers here are stifled. They've been threatened if they say anything bad about it, and they can't teach these children like individuals. They're treating them like robots, and they're in a box. All of them are in a box. And it's just devastating to me as a grandmother to watch our children being indoctrinated in this fashion.
Yeah. All right, Teresa, well, listen, I thank you for the update. Thank you for your kind words, by the way, and just want to commend you for staying in there and fighting the good fight. That's where it starts. That's what it takes. So thank you, Teresa, fighting a good fight in Alabama. All right, let's go to Jimmy in Houston, Texas. Jimmy, welcome. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. I was just a couple years ago, I went back to college in my early 30s, and I took a couple of government classes, and they were pretty biased. And in the textbook, I guess they made new textbooks. Well, anyway, in there it was talking about how the cops raided a homosexual nightclub, and how bravely that these people fought back against the cops.
That's back in 1969, the Stonewall riots and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so biased, and it was just unbelievable. And one of my teachers was actually a lobbyist who lobbied for the Democratic Party for about 25 years, and so even at college they're still indoctrinating you. And then also I want to make one other point before I go. I was thinking about why are they pushing homosexual rights so heavily. It's mainly just a theory, but mainly they think about population control. That's why they promote abortion, because they feel like there's too many people. So I think that because homosexuals don't reproduce, they get a double whammy. One, they can control speech rights, they can control that, but also they don't get the increased population by promoting these types of relationships.
All right,
But,
Jimmy. Well, listen, that's an intriguing idea, because the one risk you do not run into with homosexual sex is an unintended pregnancy. It is a biological impossibility. All right. Well, thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. Thank you for the call. You know, I mean, they're making the Stonewall riots out of 1969 to be the equivalent of the shot heard around the world fired on the Lexington Green. Holy Toledo. All right, let's go to Eddie in Tyler, Texas. Eddie, last call of the hour. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
Yes, sir. You know, as Christians, we know and understand that Satan's greatest tool is to be able to fool us into believing that he doesn't exist. My thing is, and I didn't know this until, of course, you said it a little earlier, the production company that has decided to remove Satan from the next episode of filming for the Son of God, and it's disturbing to me to know that Christian production companies are now getting to the point of acquiescing to, oh, well, yeah, that looks like Obama. Oh, well, that looks like John Kerry. You know, doesn't matter who they look like if it's a representation of a biblical and real figure. Then that needs to be expressed to that production company.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate your call. Thank you for that, Eddie. And again, you know, I guess the thing that troubled me a little bit is that the producer, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way. I appreciate what they're trying to do here, because so few people are actually trying to do this. This is Roma Downey and Mark Burnett. But she said, it gives me great pleasure to tell you that the devil is on the cutting room floor. It's one thing if you say, you know, we regret that we had to cut that out of there because it's a central part of the story. We didn't want people to get confused, for it to be a distraction. We're sorry we had to do it. That's not what she says. It gives me great pleasure to tell you the devil is on the cutting room floor. Back after the news, Focal Point AFR Talk.